on reinventing the store of the future in the convenience channel. My name is Ioli McCready, and I'm an analyst in the team here at Planet Retail RNG, which is now known as Edge by Essential. For those of you who have tuned into our webinars in the past, you may have noticed that we have some different branding this time around. We'll get to that in just a second. Today's webinar, as you already know, on today's webinar, we will cover the sort of growing momentum of convenience and what brands sort of need to do to really capture that by taking advantage of, new and exclusive partnerships, or thinking about new shopper missions, or leveraging the growing influence of health and wellness, and so on. So before we start, as I said before, you'll notice that some of our branding is new today. So we were very excited to announce last week that Planet Retail RNG and its sister organizations have now merged and are all forming together into what we now call Edge by Essential. So just to outline that very, very quickly for everyone on the call, and showing how it will sort of all come together. So our journey sort of began in 2015 when Retail Net Group was acquired by Planet Retail, and they came together as one, so as Planet Retail RNG, as you probably most of you know us as. Then in 2016, we all acquired One Click Retail, who you may have heard of them. They're a leading provider of sales and share data for Amazon. Then in 2017, we had the acquisition of Clavis Insight, which is a digital shelf monitoring tool. And then most recently, about a couple of months ago, we acquired BrandView, which is also sort of a digital shelf tool, but focuses more on sort of online price and promotion. So essentially, over the years, we've seen the buildup of sort of this cohesive platform that is made up of these 4 brands, which has now finally sort of been brought together officially and is now under our sort of big company umbrella called Edge by Essential. And just to give sort of a brief idea of where the sort of combined offering is going, basically each of the companies under this umbrella has its unique sort of offering, but at the same time all of them together offer this complementary service. So in a nutshell, One Click Retail is really going to be our market share tool. Clavis Insight will really sort of drive our digital shelf service. BrandView will power our price and promotion offering, and then finally, obviously, our retail insights and research that you're probably most familiar with will continue to be powered by legacy Planet Retail RNG. But I think that what will really help sort of bring all this together is understanding what we're sort of trying to do. And that is we're aiming to provide a deep human and technological expertise that aims to sort of guide the future of retail, which obviously we feel will be very e-commerce driven. And so we're going to have some of the industry's leading data coverage and data science to drive actionable insights, combined with leading industry expertise, which will come to life through more of webinars like this one, our research reports, and of course our custom advisory projects. And ultimately, sort of what we're trying to achieve here is to sort of become a best-in-class strategic partner for all of you that will help win in this sort of digitally driven world that we keep talking about. So exciting times ahead. Please do reach out if you have any questions. But for now, let's just move on today's topic. So on our agenda today, we are going to cover how the convenience channel is reinventing its store of the future capabilities. And to do that, we will start off with a couple of key drivers that are shaping convenience today, followed by briefly looking at how sort of the channel is growing and what some of the top players are. And then we will go into the 4 key store of the future characteristics, which we use to evaluate a store's progress into becoming more relevant to shoppers' needs and how to sort of future-proof their stores. And then we'll show sort of best-in-class examples in each of these characteristics to sort of show who is really executing the best on each of them. So this webinar is really grounded on our legacy winning strategies, which you have probably already heard about from us a million times. And what they really do is they aim to help retailers and brands deal with and adapt to the most important trends that will affect the future of our industry. Those four winning strategies, as you can see right on the slide here, are e-commerce and digital ecosystem management, supply chain and fulfillment, shopper engagement and retention, and of course, the store of the future. And the store of the future is the one that we will be focusing on today and looking at how it relates and how it's sort of driving the convenience channel to sort of evolve to become more relevant. So first off, just to quickly touch upon the fundamental drivers that are reinforcing the need for convenience. So we know that average household sizes are declining across the globe. I'm sure you've heard us say this again and again. This is obviously influenced by trends in health, by the way that modern lifestyles are changing, and by sort of socioeconomic factors that are really intensifying the demand for convenience and for sort of lifestyle product solutions. And shrinking household sizes will really create opportunities for stores that are strongly focused on value, that are easy to get to, so that offer sort of proximity, and that are good for people to go into for frequent trips, so going in and out many times during the week for small baskets. So we're increasingly seeing the diminishing relevance of big box formats that is sort of challenging shelf space availability and driving the need for more convenience, which is why we're going to talk about convenience today. And another thing we're seeing is that the importance of traditional shopping cohorts, such as moms, are becoming less relevant actually, and instead we're seeing the rise of more individual lifestyles that require things like easy, convenient, and pre-portioned food, for example. All this, of course, is reducing the amount of shelf space available, which means that CPG manufacturers really need to ensure that they're having more brand visibility as the space is more limited, and that they're sort of working with retailers to create more in-store touch points as they sort of try to cater to new shopping missions, adapting their products or adapting their packaging and so on, all to suit the sort of on-the-go consumer. At the same time, urbanization is rapidly growing as well, as we've mentioned in the past. By 2023, 58% of the world's population will be residing in cities, which is up from about 55% today. Emerging markets in particular, this trend of rapid urbanization will spur significant middle class growth, which will again breed sort of modern lifestyles and drive demand for proximity, convenience, and speed, all that kind of stuff. What this means is that both residential small box formats and urban convenience stores in busy areas will be key parts of the future retail landscape, because that is where consumers expect retailers to be now. And what they will expect is that the retailer is where the shopper is. But the convenience channel is also changing in other ways, sort of taking greater advantage of technological developments. In fact, the tests of unstaffed and checkout-less formats continue to grab headlines, but also point to a future of more frictionless, digitally integrated stores that suppliers must really be prepared to sort of support in the best way. Current tests are mostly concentrated in Asia and particularly in China, where mobile first and tech savvy shoppers are really willing to sort of try more digitally integrated stores and are more free with sharing their personal information. And this emerging solution is really particularly suitable for smaller stores because although unmanned formats may differ between themselves, they're all sort of responding to the same growing consumer demand for convenience, especially as we have things like rising labor costs. So they're particularly effective for keeping a store open 24 hours a day in urban areas where staffing around the clock would often be unprofitable, and then also in rural areas where having a manned store would be sort of economically not feasible. Now, just to take a very quick look at channel growth, hyperstores are, of course, the second largest modern food retail channel globally, and will continue to grow sales, but their global market share will fall from 20% to 16% between 2018 and 2023, which is obviously huge. And on the other hand, although they hold a small share of modern food retail, convenience stores are expected to see strong growth between 2018 and 2023, while online food retail sales are forecast to show the fastest growth, of course, and to overtake other channels such as discount by 2023. So what is clear here is that hyperstores will lose their importance gradually. Oh, they will continue to be important, but they will be less important, while convenience and e-commerce will gain importance. And this is sort of why we think these two channels will really continue to be top priorities in the future. So regardless of channel, we use four key characteristics to evaluate retailers' efforts in essentially future-proofing their stores. As trends and expectations evolve, so will the role of the store, which is evolving to become a place where people can get inspiration, they can learn about new products and product uses, they can socialize, they can fulfill online orders, and so on. And as you know, it is no longer sufficient to simply sell a standard snack and beverage assortment in a convenience store. Shoppers now expect fresh products, products that are made daily. They want a more refined selection of healthier products that really adhere to their dietary needs. They want quick meal solutions for different occasions, and they want to be in and out of the store fast. But what does that really mean for the convenience channel? Although convenience stores and forecourts have much more limited space to test and execute on some of these initiatives, we're nonetheless seeing retailers in the space actively trying to redefine proximity and ease. Whether that means updating their store assortment or utilizing emerging technologies to sort of remove as much friction as possible. We've seen a variety of really exciting tests in the past 6 months globally, and that's sort of what we'll go in a second. For suppliers, some of these examples that we'll talk about may shed light on key initiatives and trends that they should really be aware of in order to improve their supply chain or their merchandising capabilities, as well as even sort of reconsider the role of partnerships and localization. So let's go on to look at some of the examples. We'll start off with experiential as the first of the four key characteristics. So here we have Rockstop. This is a forecourt in the US, which is the first of its kind Hard Rock branded service station and car wash. The reason this is unique is because it attempts to sort of make a routine task, which is pumping gas, into a more sort of fun experience by adding Hard Rock style lighting effects and LED TVs that broadcast music and videos and commercials. And people can listen to music of their choice while they're washing their car. And inside the store, they will find exclusive Hard Rock merchandise. So the reason I've highlighted this example is because it has really brought a partnership to life, and it really reminds us why these partnerships can be very successful and very unique, is because it's very interesting for a convenience store to be able to provide sort of exclusive merchandise that can really sort of make its location different and can really sort of drive people to this location because of the partnership. Over in Taiwan, Family Mart opened a new concept store that sort of uses a variety of technologies to create a more unique and sort of digitally interactive experience. So there's a robotic greeter at the entrance as soon as a shopper walks in. There's an automated coffee dispenser, as you see on the top left here. There's an interactive screens for shoppers to find promotions and apply them to their order and check out, all of which sort of point to this future of a more automated world where convenience stores can use technologies in their stores to make the experience a little bit more exciting and make it more of an experience rather than just a run for coffee or a snack or a meal. On the other hand, JD has decided to roll out vending machines to sort of become even more accessible to shoppers. But what's interesting here is that these machines also offer services to customers. So aside from a selection of daily necessities, the vending machine can also be used for banking services, for collecting packages, printing documents, even charging your phone, and so on. And the reason I'm talking about this example is because it is an indication that convenience is not simply moving towards a network of vending machines that can be ultra convenient and can be everywhere, but it's all, the point is to also offer add-ons that sort of make shoppers' life more convenient in other aspects as well. And someone like JD is really well positioned to develop this because of their expansive ecosystem of services beyond retail. But I think it's also really a sign that more retailers should be looking to diversify their offer in a more meaningful way. And then in terms of suppliers, this really sort of shows that things like this will really fragment their supply chains. It means that they will need to replenish these types of selling channels much more frequently, that they might have to change their packaging so that everything is easily visible in the front, as shoppers don't have the option to look at products on the back, and so on. In terms of bridging the gap between online and offline, Giant Eagle in the US has teamed up with OfferUp, which is an online marketplace for people to buy and sell goods, essentially. Customers can now use any of the 41 Get Go fuel and convenience locations that are owned by Giant Eagle as meeting points to complete these transactions in a secure location. So what this means is that Giant Eagle wanted to capitalize on an online trend and sort of use its traffic into its physical stores. So at the same time, it sort of offers an incentive. So shoppers that actually come into a Giant Eagle store to complete an OfferUp transaction get access to a digital coupon for a beverage. So obviously this here is an interesting opportunity for a brand to partner with Giant Eagle to sort of facilitate with this promotion, or to even rethink their merchandising strategy. And since these OfferUp meeting spots are located at the in-store cafes of each store, they can sort of reconsider the placement of their products to sort of be near the meeting point. Now, to move on to sort of the social element of a store of the future, I'm showcasing Euro garages here, mainly because of their plans to really expand in the UK, as well as their recent entry to the US through their acquisition of Kroger's convenience store chain. And what Euro garages has really been trying to do for a while now is make its locations a place where there are multiple services and food offerings to really sort of try and increase customer dwell time and to become more of a destination rather than just a pit stop for a shopper. And I think this will be even more relevant in the future as more consumers will buy electric cars, for example, and more forecourts will facilitate electric charges, which of course need a lot more time than a simple gas pump would need. And that means that these types of locations will really need to come up with more ways to entertain customers and have them spend more money while they're waiting for something like that. Additionally, I wanted to bring up Rev2Go, which has this is their one of their urban locations in Frankfurt that I think is particularly interesting because aside from a strong mix of private labels and national brands, the store has a pretty impressive food service offering given the space. You can't really tell from the pictures, but this is a very, very small store, and even so, there a lot of the space is dedicated on its food offering. So on the bottom left here, there's an actual salad bar, which is not that common in a convenience store. And then there are a few hot items that customers can purchase. But then, aside from all of that, there's also significant space for people, both indoors, you can see on the top left, and outdoor on the top right, where people can just sit and enjoy their meal. And these seating areas really make the location suitable for people who are grabbing lunch or even for people who just want to sit and work for a few hours. But it's just really relevant to the area because it's an urban location that's near offices, near stores. And so, in that essence, it's important that it has so much space for people to actually sit in the store. Over in Mexico, BP recently opened its first Wild Bean Cafe after having entered the market in about mid 2017. Although BP obviously has several Wild Bean locations in other markets, I think this is sort of an interesting move because, again, it shows that these operators are really looking to increase dwell time and have customers really have a reason to sit and enjoy their meal in the store rather than elsewhere. And this particular location is also interesting because it really promotes sort of local Mexican coffee. So again, finding different ways to make people stay in the store, differentiating your store by offering something that's more local or that's more unique to the people that will come to your store. And then again, just like trying to differentiate. Finally, Family Mart started opening adjacent gyms to some of its locations with the purpose of sort of creating more reasons for its shoppers to come to the store and eventually even gradually sort of build a small local community of people that use the gym. The store also sells special products that are aimed at the customers who will be visiting the gym. So things like workout gear and socks. You can see that at the bottom of the slide here. And that really sort of expands the traditional assortment of a convenience store because you wouldn't typically find these types of products in other convenience stores. And again, what this does, it sort of fulfills a very different shopper mission. And what suppliers could do is they could look to also offer products that will be useful to this type of shopper base. So to the Family Mart stores that do have a gym, brands could really change their assortment to really suit that type of shopper mission, which of course will also benefit from the potential increase in traffic because of the gym. Now, moving on to sort of curation. This I wanted to include this because it's an example of a drugstore operator who is trying out a more convenient route by opening vending machines. So CVS opened some of these at train stations and other high traffic areas. And this is really a recognition that shoppers are more demanding than ever, and they expect to find the products they need wherever they are, which is why it's sort of up to retailers to go where the shopper is and not sort of always wait for the shopper to come to them. And the assortment is, of course, very limited, but it is curated differently based on the location of the machine. So certain vending machines may have OTC products only, others may have some personal care, such as toothbrushes and so on. And so it's really localized to the specific location where each of the vending machines is located in. Then over in Spain, Dia actually opened its first Dia and Go convenience store, actually over in Barcelona. And this is an interesting proposition because it's very different from Dia's original sort of proposition where everything is very no frills and it's sort of discounter like. This specific one has a lot of produce, which is not as common for urban convenience stores. It has multiple service counters. You can see one of them on the top right here. It even had a tasting counter that you can see in the bottom right here where people could try out products and then buy them in the store. And there was a very strong sort of mix of Dia's private label products, both its lower priced one and its more premium one. So on the bottom left here, you can see its brand that is very prominently promoted. which is sort of in contrast with all the other brands in there. So an interesting mix, service counters, there's even a bakery in there. There is a machine for people to get their own orange juice and so on. So a different sort of offering to what we are used to for Dia. Then for Premier, which is a Tesco Booker banner, for those of you who don't know it, we're seeing them really sort of rethink their assortment and work on what they call their store of the future. And so what we're seeing them do is that they're really refining the assortment to offer more local products, even bakery goods and produce, and then also creating special sections for products that are free from, so healthier products. And to sort of encourage people to visit the store for lunch or to take a break, they've added car and bike parking, they've added a dog water area. They have in-store seating for customers to enjoy their meals. There's Wi-Fi and charging points. Um, all of these are sort of aimed at sort of capturing the urban shopper who not only seeks convenient and healthy meals and snacks, but also wants an experience that alleviates other pain points. And according to the retailer, the new model is sort of capable of generating 25% of gross profit, which is sort of expected to reach 30% within the next 12 to 18 months. So an example that's really focused on having a more curated assortment that really sort of suits the needs of today's consumer. Another example in the US that takes Premier's strategy to the next level. So this is the Goods Mart. So as you can see, this looks like a very clean and even a slightly premium feel. So, and these convenience stores in the US are really sort of aimed at health conscious shoppers. So its assortment is not at all what a traditional convenience store assortment would be. It's only focused on healthy products. You can see a lot of fresh produce, fruits, and then there's a lot of products that are healthier in some way. So there's either less sugar or they're non-GMO or they're gluten-free. And it sort of aims to be a more personal experience with products that are much more aligned with what consumers are looking for today. Finally, to move on to sort of the frictionless sort of the future characteristics. So here again, we're seeing Alibaba bring the products to consumers. So going through a route of very small stores that are able to operate on a 24-hour basis. So people have the ability to collect their prescriptions at any time and don't need to sort of adhere to store times. This uses a lot of technology such as facial recognition so that people can sort of safely enter, pay for their purchases and so on. And this sort of is a type of thing where brands could forge partnerships with Alibaba and they could really sort of ensure that their products are visible and that they're included in these types of stores and even that they're being recommended, because this type of store also has sort of a health consultation service where customers can ask for advice, and so brands could really work to be one of the brands that is recommended for shoppers that go to the store. For Albert Heijn, you may have heard them testing a tap-to-go technology a few months ago, which they have now are now planning to roll out to all of their 80 convenience stores in the Netherlands. So the way this technology works is that each customer has their own tap-to-go card, and then once they're in the store, they can tap the individual tag of each product in order to buy that product. So for every single product they want to buy, they simply tap their card against the shelf and they can buy that product, and they don't need to go through the traditional checkout. So it's very fast, very easy, particularly easy for someone who's just going in to buy a couple of things and get out. And also something that, in my opinion, could also really drive impulse, as people will just easily purchase the thing in the spot. Then, of course, we have included Amazon Go. It may not be 100% what people imagine when they think of convenience, but I do think it's a very important example because obviously their checkout technology is now growing. It's already reached 6 stores and will of course continue to sort of roll out to more and more locations. I think we all know how it works. People don't need to go to a checkout. They enter the store by sort of scanning their Amazon account, and the technology follows them around and sort of aggregates their basket. But what I think is interesting here is that Amazon has decided to really focus these stores on meal occasions. So they have placed a lot of focus on meal kits, and so really helping people who are either working and want to go over to the Amazon Go for their lunch break, or even for people passing by on their way home who are picking up dinner. So both having the opportunity to sit in the store, as you can see on the bottom right here, people can just sit there and enjoy their meal, but also be sort of a quick point where people can pick up their meal and then go home and very easily prepare something for themselves. And finally, as I'm sure a lot of you have seen, 7-Eleven is also really trying its own unstaffed stores. So in this case here, again, there is no actual checkout. The technology sort of recognizes the shopper through facial recognition and therefore lets them enter the store. And then again, through facial recognition, they can pay for their purchases and then exit the store. So using a lot of automation here, there is again sort of a robot greeter that you can see here both on the left top and bottom pictures. The assortment is very interesting. There are a lot of options. The store is on purpose, appears very tech savvy, so it seems very exciting. And the 7-Eleven has actually opened 2 so far, so we'll see how far they're willing to go with this. So these were some of the examples that I wanted to showcase today. So the big question coming out of all of these sort of developments is what are you doing to really capture this inevitable momentum of the convenience channel? So some of the things we've captured here is are you sort of thinking about more shopper missions than just the traditional one? So are you thinking about people who are really looking for an easy meal solution on their way home and do not feel like going into a big store for that or even cooking it themselves? Are you sort of becoming a destination for someone who's driving somewhere rather than just a place where they go in and out while they fill their tank? And as I said, something that in the future could be much more relevant for people who need more time as they charge electric vehicles, for example. And therefore, what are you doing to sort of make people stay in your space, be entertained, have a good meal, and so on? Also, what are you doing to be more local? Are your stores really relevant to the demographics of that area? Because it is no longer a one size fits all for all channels, but for convenience in particular, since there are so many trying to sort of satisfy different demographics according to their location. Are you capturing health and wellness? So are your stores now including a lot more options that are adhering to different dietary needs and are adhering to a lot of people who now want to have a healthier lifestyle? So your traditional confectionery and high sugar sort of soda drinks are no longer what people are looking for. So are you really updating your assortment in that way? Are you going where the shopper is? So are you finding new ways to be a lot more accessible, a lot easier to get to, a lot easier to go in and out? Are you utilizing technologies that make this experience faster and make it a lot more preferable than going anywhere else, even ordering online? And then finally, with all of these changes in shopper behavior and trends, are you updating your packaging? So are you as a brand demonstrating the fact that your products are healthier or that they offer some other types of benefits that traditional confectionery or other products do not offer? Are your products easier to scan now that a lot of people are checking out using their mobiles? or even without a checkout. So all of these types of considerations that are sort of aiming at capturing this momentum that the convenience channel is having. So we are seeing convenience becoming a much more important channel, and this is why there are so many tests out there. We are seeing more tests in stores than ever before, and the convenience channel is really at the forefront of that. So hopefully a few sort of interesting points to consider. Um, I'd like to see if there are any questions. The presentation will be available after for whoever is interested. Okay, so we have a question about the four characteristics. Out of these four, which are retailers focusing more investment on? Okay, yeah. So obviously the obvious answer here is frictionless. I mean, we're seeing more and more sort of operators test out ways that people can check out without having an actual checkout or staff sort of facilitating the checkout. But I think and we're getting there to sort of being able to scale these types of technologies, and I'm sure that convenience stores will be the first to sort of scale it at large, as we saw with Albert Heijn, of course, which is just an example. But I think that an even bigger one is and sort of should be the curation part. So I think it's really important right now for convenience stores to be localizing their assortment to really suit the demographics and to offer, as I said, more healthy products, more meal solutions, and things like that that sort of make them a different location than anywhere else. Let's see if there are any other questions. Okay, it looks like this is it for today. The recording and presentation will be available to everyone after this webinar. If you do have any more questions, please feel free to reach out to us. This is my personal email, but you can always also reach out to your account manager or client services. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining, and we'll speak to you soon.